Guys, I've been getting crap for being a hunter main for years, but today we have a hunter build that will have all of your warlock friends giving out apologies left and right. Now, I'm well aware that there are so many builds out there that are very similar to this and that are probably even better builds, but if you like to make difficult activities feel super easy, then this is the build that I call Champion's Bane, and it is all you need dealing with champions, bosses, and adds alike. Today, we're breaking down everything: subclass, fragments, aspects, and even the armor mods. So grab a snack, sit back, and get ready for a build that'll change the way you treat your hunter main friends and asking, are you on your hunter? More and more. I'm JT Goonie, and if you enjoy top tier builds, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and catch me live on Twitch Mondays and Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central. Don't forget to join our Discord to find fire teams and make new friends in the Destiny 2 community. Links are down below. Now let's dive into this build and see what makes it so special. We've got to start somewhere, so I figured why not start with the artifact mods in this episode echoes. We have some pretty savory options for our champion mods, but in this build, we're going to let Prismatic do all of the heavy lifting. On offer, we have anti-barrier pulse rifle, unstoppable sidearm, unstoppable scout rifle, overload hand cannon, anti-barrier SMG, and anti-barrier sniper rifle. But here's the deal. You really only need 2, maybe even 1 of these mods. Like I said, we're leaning heavy on our abilities like stasis, getting radiant plus anti-barrier from your melee abilities, and a certain arc LMG that rhymes with Bunderboard to handle overloads. For your primary, with unstoppable sidearm equipped, go ahead and throw on the call in that slot. Go with roll like left from gold 1 for all. Hitting 3 targets is going to give you that sweet 35% damage boost, perfect for unstoppable champions. Lead from gold ensures that ammo is never an issue, especially in high level activities like GMs or master raids. I know that they just fixed the issue where rocket assisted sidearms were treating the ammo scout and ammo finder mods like it was a kinetic weapon, but the ammo economy is still great on these. You should be fine with this weapon. Another role that I think is a good pick here for the call is going to be beacon rounds and Vorpal weapon. Having that tracking on the strand sidearm ensures that your shots go where you want them to go instead of not into the middle of nowhere. We all have been there with rocket sidearms. It happens. With Vorpal weapon doing more damage to bosses and stuff, it's going to be an absolute top tier pick for this. For your secondary, I suggest avoid auto or avoid pulse. I recently dropped a video on the riposte auto rifle. Go watch our review. It goes into depth on the perk pool and what makes it so good to fit in this build. But the key here is having repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds. The riposte is amazing with the stability and handling that it has. LC rifle is another fantastic option. Pulse rifles are in a really good spot right now in PvE. We've got Age Old Bond from the Last Wish raid, the Recluse, and Word of Crota are a few more great choices here. With this build, you don't necessarily need to have destabilizing rounds if your weapon of choice rolls with a great damage perk in column 4. I know LC's rifle can have desperate measures or frenzy in that 4th slot, and the Recluse can roll with master of arms or surrounded in the 4th column. Just depends on what your favorite flavor is. Now, having destabilizing rounds will keep you from having to wait for a grenade recharge or another ability recharge just in case, because all you have to do to proc repulsor brace is get a final blow with the weapon and spread volatile to those nearby enemies. Boom, you get an overshield. For heavy, Thunderlord with its catalyst is going to be the way to go. Its damage and ability to stun overload champs makes it a perfect fit. I don't think I really need to say anything else here about Thunderlord. It's just awesome. Moving on into our subclass, for Prismatic Super, I recommend going with Shadow Shot Deadfall. My favorite super in the game finally gets some shine, and for good reason too. When you're up against tougher enemies like champions, this is going to make sure they don't teleport away when you're on your last heavy mag. The amount of times I would go to stun an overload captain and he sprints away so I miss all of my shots is more than I would like to admit. Solution? Tether their asses to the ground and rain lightning on them with Thunderlord. It will also give you a chance to refresh those buffs like Radiant and Volatile and Unraveling rounds with your grenade and melee abilities. Whether you're running high level content or just need a reliable way to manage crowds and stay active, Deadfall is definitely going to be the way to go. For the abilities on this, yeah, Hunters kind of got shafted with the grenade abilities. We have the grapple grenade, but I mean, I would much rather have had like the solar grenade or something like that. But here, we're going to go with the swarm grenade. Its tracking almost guarantees you a kill on a red bar enemy, making it great for escaping sticky situations. Plus, with one of our fragments, if you slow an enemy with your melee, your solar grenade is going to get a 10% damage buff. With the facet of bravery guaranteeing you those volatile rounds and unraveling rounds, one grenade can literally activate 4 different buffs. For For melee, Withering Blade is perfect for slowing targets and stunning champions. You get 2 charges, and 2 hits will slow nearby enemies and will stun overload champions as well with no problem. Pair that with Gambler's Dodge to regain a charge when dodging near enemies, and once we get into our armor mods, you'll have no trouble keeping your class ability energy topped off. It causes almost an infinite loop of ability uptime with the mods that we're running. Aspects, now let's talk about them. These are what will give this build that extra bit of flair. First, we've got Winter Shroud. Dodging slows nearby targets. Big bonus here. Slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regeneration. Boom, you're getting some class ability back. Gambler's Dodge, granting you that melee charge again. 2 dregs, 1 stone. Next, Stylus Executioner. Defeating a target affected by an elemental debuff grants invisibility and true sight. Slow being applied through your class ability and destabilizing rounds on your energy weapon. You can practically get infinite invisibility, letting you move freely for a res, to grab some ammo, orb of power. And yes, there's an exotic armor piece that pairs perfectly with this, but we'll get into that later. Like with every build, fragments are one of the most important parts of a build. They help us wrap all the ways we fight up in a nice little bow. This build is all about staying alive, staying hidden, and keeping champions at bay. Not only are we applying damage and healing buffs to ourselves and our allies, we're also making sure that the enemy has a constant stasis or void debuff applied to them pretty much at all times. Starting with Facet of Bravery, defeating targets with grenade final blows grant volatile rounds to your void weapons. Defeating targets with a powered melee final blow grants unraveling rounds to your strand weapons. I'm looking at the call. This fragment will allow you to pass out debuffs with the call and whatever void weapon you choose for your secondary slot, like free samples at the grocery store. Great for ad dense activities. Facet of Blessing, this next fragment is going to be great for keeping you and your team alive. Like I said, this is a do-it-all build. Facet of Blessing states, melee final blows start health regeneration, dub. While Transcendent, melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. That's a team dub. Using your Withering Blade is awesome for this because you are simultaneously slowing targets, stunning overload champs, and healing your fire team, all without having to get too far into the mix. Facet of Dawn, here we go. Remember when I said that we had 2 out of the 3 champions taken care of? Well, Facet of Dawn will take care of that 3rd champion type. Powered melee hits against targets make you radiant. Powered melee final blows make you and nearby allies radiant. Hit a target, become radiant. Defeat a target, and you and your allies get a piece of that pie. Being radiant also grants your weapons anti-barrier rounds, so not only are you doing destabilizing rounds with your void weapons from grenade kills, get a melee kill with your powered melee, and you're also getting anti-barrier at the same time. Absolutely clutch. Literally, all 3 of your weapons are dealing with champions, and grenade final blows granting void weapons volatile rounds. You can stun and debuff champions at the exact same time. Next up, we have Facet of Ruin. Increases the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or a frozen target. It increases the area of solar ignitions. We're not really using solar too much, but this will affect your grenade a little bit. Great for slowing targets in a larger area as well when you get those melee kills. Another pretty important part to this build is going to be Facet of Courage. Your arc, solar, and void abilities deal increased damage to targets affected with darkness debuffs. This one is going to require a little bit more patience and skill, so throw a Withering Blade, then either throw a grenade or use your class ability to slow those enemies to get that grenade kill, or use them both and get a 10% buff to your damage, clearing ads with ease. Literally everything in this build synergizes into each other, so no matter what you are doing with your abilities or debuffs, you will have them up pretty much all the time. Give you huge gains for you and your team. Your fire team will thank you. Play around with that weapon in that energy slot. Remember, repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds are going to be ideal in this situation, but because Facet of Bravery does give us some room for wiggling with not having destabilizing rounds on your energy weapons, so if you want to swap that out for a damage perk, you have that option. I can hear you typing down in your comments, but no, I can hear it. But why would you even say Facet of Bravery and destabilizing rounds in the first place? This build, again, is all about keeping everything up as often as possible. No matter what you do with this build, and the uptime for your abilities, debuffs, and everything in between is there. I dare say you have infinite everything. Now that's going to take us on to the exotic armor that we're going to be using for this build, because this again is going to tie into just keeping everything up at the same time. By now, I'm pretty sure all of the hunters in the room saw this coming, but Gear Falcons is on the menu with this exotic trait that states your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. Looking back at Stylish Executioner again. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage, and that's across the board. You and your nearby allies gain reserve overshield and improved class ability regeneration. Just another way to get that class ability back. And if you do get a kill with a finisher, you and your allies that are nearby get a reserve void overshield. These reserve overshields can be deployed by using their class ability. Having that reserve overshield is an absolute amazing way to make sure that your team is healed and ready to keep firing for those extra sticky situations with this build. And with this build basically giving you free class ability energy pretty much all the time, this is a perfect fit to give your team some extra survivability. Go invis, get a finisher, and after all that is said and done, your weapons get more damage, your void weapons get volatile rounds, your team gets overshield in their backpack. Going back to Stylus Executioner, this is literally refreshing Gear Falcons every melee kill and getting you more damage in the process. Invis, rinse, repeat. As far as arm stats go, because of the amount of survivability and utility this build offers, 100 resilience and 100 discipline are a requirement. You could spec into the strength and recovery as well, but staying alive and having a grenade at all times is the most important thing here. We've gone over the subclass, we've gone over the exotic armor, the weapons. Now it's time to get in the mods on your armor that will dial in everything. For armor mods, let's start with the helmet. Powerful Friends, Heavy Ammo Scout, and Heavy Ammo Finder is what you're going to run here. Powerful Friends is going to allow you and your allies to get an armor mod charge every time you pick up an orb of power. Great way to share with the class. Moving on to the gauntlets, Fastball, Impact Induction, and Grenade Kickstart are your choices here. When your grenade is fully consumed and you have an active armor charge, this mod will consume your armor charge and grant grenade ability energy. So when you use your grenade and you have an armor charge stacked up, this will consume them all and give you 45% grenade energy back. Impact Induction, causing damage with a powered melee, reduces your grenade cooldown about 5% for every hit, and with the Swarm Grenade, every single seeker will count as one hit, giving you about 40 grenade energy back from one grenade. See the synergy here? Chest piece, just run whatever mod you need for the activity you're currently doing. Resistance mod, concussive dampener, that kind of thing. Boots, you already know what I'm gonna say. Recuperation, I'm gonna run an innervation mod here to get that grenade energy back for picking up orbs of power. Pretty sweet deal if you ask me. Lastly, on your boots, run a void, arc, or strand weapon surge just to get as much damage out as possible. Lastly, we have our class item. Powerful Attraction is going to allow you to pick up orbs of power without putting you in too much danger. Bomber is going to be another armor mod that is going to give us some grenade energy back in exchange for using our class ability. And lastly, we're going to want to use Time Dilation to make sure that your armor charges last longer so you can activate that grenade kickstart a little bit quicker. Remember, using your class ability is going to give us a melee charge when dodging your enemies, as well as give us grenade energy back. And if you use Winter Shroud, you could potentially be stunning an overload champion, slowing nearby enemies, getting grenades back, getting melees back, and buff your grenade as well. Synergy, synergy, synergy. Now I've been running this build pretty much every single activity over the last few weeks when I play on my hunter, and I don't feel like I even need to say that much. This build is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love that I can use all of my weapons in my loadout to handle pretty much any enemy in the game, from champions down to red bar enemies. I can keep my grenade, melee, and class ability up pretty much all of the time, and I can extend the benefits of Radiant to my fire team members, and Gear Falcons is making it too easy to go invisible with Stylus Executioner in tandem. Void overshields pretty much for everybody. Like I said, this build has it all: ad clear, damage, ability uptime, the whole shebang. For synergy, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. For damage, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10. With everything, there is room for improvement. I said it earlier, with the amount of sources of volatile rounds, you can replace that destabilizing rounds on your weapons for a damage perk like Desperate Measures or Frenzy. I'll also say that compared to Scorch and Jolt, volatile rounds aren't the strongest, but that being said, I do think a solid choice for you void mains out there just because of the ad clear potential. Survivability, of course, 10 out of 10 with Stylus Executioner and Gear Falcons, and being able to be invisible pretty much whenever you want on demand. This build should keep you alive through even the most chaotic of Grandmaster runs. And overall, again, 10 out of 10 is what I'm going to give this one. You do have some wiggle room in terms of weaponry in this build, but with this setup we have here, it is literally unlimited everything. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this build. With all of my build videos, there will be a dim loadout link down in the description below. If you tried this build, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know how you guys feel about the Prismatic Hunter build that I call Champion's Bane, and a build that can handle pretty much any activity. Hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe for more Destiny 2 content, and consider becoming a channel member by leaving a super thanks for exclusive content and to show your support for the channel. Also, join our Discord to find fire teams, share your roles and builds, as well as discuss all things Destiny. Links are down below. Happy hunting, Guardian.